So you want to get booked as a guest on podcasts is one of the great ways to promote your business and your ideas. But listen, what you've been doing is not working. You're spending too much time. You're not getting the results. I've been podcasting for 5 years now. I've released 350 episodes. I run an agency. I've worked with dozens of clients. I get pitched about 36 times a week with people that want to be on my show. I'm on dozens of shows every month. I know what works. And in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to know to get booked on shows. I got about 20 different ideas here. I even have, if you stick around at the end, I have an exact pitch. I'm going to give you word for word a pitch that will get you booked on shows. I promise you, if you don't have the 10 minutes it takes to watch this video, then good luck in business, good luck in entrepreneurship. I don't know what to tell you, it's not gonna work. But if you do have 10 minutes and you listen, you will be booked on more shows. Without further ado, in the next 10 minutes, about a dozen different ways to get you booked on shows. Stop wasting your damn time, it's time to go. All right, first up, you've gotta be on all the podcast guest matchmaking platforms. Podmatch, Guestio, Matchmaker. These are great places to find shows to be on. Most of them are free. You can pay to get upgraded, but just the free versions will give you access to a lot of shows that you can be on. Now listen, this is a really important concept. A big mistake that a lot of people make is they're focused on taking. It's a lot of freaking work to host a podcast. A lot of freaking work, and most guests don't respect or understand how much effort goes into it. So if you come with the vibe of understanding how much work goes into it, it'll go a long way. Understand that it's about adding value to the host, not taking value from the host. I'm a host. I understand that you want access to my thousands of listeners. You want access to all my systems, my processes, and my network. I get that, but what are you bringing to the table? It's really important that you focus on that. Focus on bringing the host new listeners. Focus on bringing the host new listeners. Focus on how you can grow their listenership, how you can save them time, how you can save them money. That's how you're going to get on these shows. When you're first starting off, don't be picky about shows. You should be going on as many shows as possible to get your reps up. You want to build a reputation of being a great guest. Side note, it's also important that you have a good camera, a good mic, and good lighting. If you show up on a potato, or if you show up to the call on an iPhone in the backseat of a car, you're not going to be an attractive guest. You want to make sure that you've got at least the basic equipment. And listen, it doesn't take thousands of dollars. I'll put a link below to some of the basic equipment. For a couple $100, you can have a really nice, really clean setup that will make you an attractive podcast guest. For God's sakes, do not show up with a potato. You're not going to get reinvited on more guest experience, all right? Podcast guests, we talk. Hosts, we talk. We communicate, we refer, which, by the way, is another way of getting more shots. After you've been on a show, after you've showed up, after you've done some of the next things, make sure you go to that host and say, hey, do you know anybody else that's looking for guests? I would love to help support them as well. Next in line, use a tool like Rephonic.com. This is a great way of finding more and more shows to be on. I'll put a link below. Rephonic is a really cool way of not just finding one show that's a good fit, but finding all the other shows that have a listenership that's very similar. Super dope tool. I'll put the link below. It's completely free. You're welcome. All right, the next one you're not going to like, and it's called social media engagement. I know social media is all about building up business and getting more things, but you got to rethink this. I got this tip from Christo. I'll put a link up here to that episode with Christo. It's amazing. He's one of the best creators, one of the best business gurus out there. When I talk about social media engagement, it's this simple. Find all the podcasts, find podcast hosts that you want to be on. Find the shows you want to be on, follow them on social media, and turn on that notification bell. As soon as those podcast clips goes live, as soon as they are promoting a show, leave a comment, like it, reshare that clip with your audience. I could tell you what, again, this goes back to a central concept. Every podcast host wants to be introduced to new listeners. If you are doing that on the front end, your chance of being a guest go up 10x. If you're liking all my stuff, and you're commenting on all my stuff, I'm gonna be much more receptive to the DM that you send me on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'm gonna be much more receptive to those texts that you send me, which again, I'm gonna give you the exact pitch at the end of the video. Stay tuned, don't tune off. You wanna be here for that pitch. It's gonna change your life. You're gonna be on more shows, okay? Let's keep moving on. The next one is look for podcast masterminds. If you know someone that owns or runs a mastermind group, join the group. It's a great way to meet new people, and it's definitely a great way to show value up front. Side note, After Hours Entrepreneur Pro Group is a great place to do that. I'm much more receptive to bringing you on as a guest. If you join the group and you're engaging, there's just more opportunities when you provide value up front. You should also consider starting your own show. One of the best ways to be a guest on other shows is by exchanging that value and by saying, look, I have a podcast, you have a podcast, let's make this thing happen, let's collaborate, let's do a swap cast. So by owning your own podcast, it makes you much more able to collaborate with other podcast hosts. Reversing just a little bit to what we just talked about with engaging with other podcast hosts, if you are a guest on a podcast, go above and beyond to promote that show. I can't tell you how frustrating it is as a host to spend hundreds of dollars producing a show, scheduling it, building out the systems, posting it, and then your guests just ghost you and they don't even like your post. It's very, very aggravating. I'm gonna tell you what, if you're doing that, you're not gonna get more guest requests. You're not gonna get booked. Now, if you pitch me and I go to your LinkedIn profile, I'm like, wow, this person is promoting 3, 4, 5 different podcasts that they guested on a week. I'm gonna be much more likely to bring you on my show because I know what you're gonna do, because you've already, there's this bizarre thing that people think is gonna happen. They say, they think that you could just take, and people are gonna keep giving. It doesn't work that way. Stop thinking that. I'll give you a perfect example. God bless him. This guy reached out to me last week, said he wanted to be on my show, and if I brought him on my show, then he would leave me an iTunes review. I'm like, bro, thanks for the favor, but no thanks. See you later. You know, you seem like a nice guy. That's cool, but that does not hit me the right way. If you want to be a guest on a show, when the person goes to screen you and look at your social media profile, if you're not active, if you're not sharing other guest appearances, it's not going to work. Okay? Sorry, not sorry. Another thing that's really blowing up here is the economy of podcasting. So you can certainly consider paying a podcast booking agency or a PR agency to book you on shows. Spoiler alert, these are not cheap. I know podcast booking agents that will charge $10,000 for 10 podcast appearances. That's not nothing. And listen, we're just really touching the tip of the iceberg of the millions of dollars that are exchanging hands when it comes to podcast and video production. So anyway, consider a podcast booking agent, maybe even consider an assistant. And if you do hire an assistant, for the love of God, make sure that they watch this video so they don't make the mistakes that you've been making all these years. And as long as we're on this thread of providing money up front, which is something that podcast hosts want, we didn't start podcasts to, just become like locker room talking points, although kind of we do. But anyway, we want to actually make money from our shows. Every podcast host has a dream of quitting their day job and making lots of money. So consider paying podcast hosts to be on their show. If it's a big show, like an Entrepreneur's on Fire, John Lee Dumas is charging, I think, $3,000 to $4,000 for an appearance. Okay, consider investing in it. And again, if you're a guest on a big show like that, it brings it, and you do it right. If you show up the right way, if you deliver value, this is a good way of building up your halo effect. You're going to be more valuable. You're going to be more desirable to other podcast hosts as a guest because you've already shown that you can do it. So don't be averse to paying money. As soon as you start bringing money into the facet, your chances of being a guest go way up. I promise you. All right, so now we're getting into the meat and potatoes. I'm going to get into the things that you really need to make sure that you're doing. So you're going to need to be direct messaging on social media, via email, via text, via messenger pigeon, smoke signals. I don't know. However you want to direct message someone, there's lots of ways to do it. Direct messaging is a really crucial part of this, okay? Now that you've implemented all the other tactics that we've talked about, now it's time to look at direct messaging, which is important. So you're probably going to want to hire an assistant. You're probably going to want to have someone that's assisting with this. Again, they're watching this video so that they know the right pitch to send. You're probably also going to want to develop a media kit, some sort of specially designed media kit that's one page, very, very brief. Again, this is really important. Anytime you're pitching, you need to be super, super brief. The last thing that I want to do as a podcast host is read a 6-page media kit that just goes nowhere. Stop it. Nobody cares. We live in an attention economy. The fact that you are still watching, I think, is a big pat on the back for me that I was able to hook you and keep you in here. Very, very difficult to do. Anyway, enough blustering on my own part. What's important here is that you keep your pitches really, really clean, really brief, and really potent. So on your media kit, one page, Very briefly focus on your expertise, maybe even bullet points, what you've accomplished. Share all your social media numbers. How many followers do you have on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram? Share some shows you've been on, and then show proof that you will promote the show. You will promote the show. If you take that guesswork out, I'm telling you, it's a big win, because there's a lot of guests that are just in it to take, and they will not promote the shows. It really makes us angry in the podcast industry. We don't like it. And we talk. We have powwows. And we will tell our friends and our family and their families and our cousins and our dogs and our cats that John Smith does not share his podcast episodes. Heck, I just need to go to your LinkedIn and I can tell you don't share. So share the post and make sure that that's clear in your media kit that you do, okay? So now we're gonna talk about pitch. I'm gonna share my screen here in just a second so you can actually see the pitch. I'm a visual guy, you're a visual person, you wanna see it. So again, keep your pitch very, very brief, okay? And let me share my screen. All right, so here's the pitch that you're gonna use. Again, we're keeping it brief, we're keeping it clean, we're keeping it very value laden. I really enjoyed episode blank from your podcast blank. So this is really important. What you're doing is you're calling out a specific episode of the show by name. Maybe there was a guest, okay? And you really liked the particular episode. You obviously want to name the podcast by name, the shows that you actually know what you're actually pitching. And then this is a really important part. Highlight a specific point that you really liked about the show, okay? I get hit up all the time. Love your podcast, The After Hours Entrepreneur. Do you need a guest? Like, it's the same. Oh my gosh, it's so tiring. But if you can say, I really liked an episode, a specific episode. For example, I really liked your episode with Patrick Bet-David on the After Hours Entrepreneur. I specifically liked the point where you talked about sharing a vision with your wife about the money that you make. By the way, that episode is amazing with Patrick Bet-David. I'm going to put a link right up here so you can check out that episode. Anyway, you're going to specifically point out a part or an aspect of the podcast that you liked. That shows that you listened. I'm a podcaster. I like when people listen to my show. Then you're going to focus on, again, that pain point. Would you like to reach new listeners? I think I can help you achieve this. What are your steps to collaborate on an episode? Then you're going to share a picture. You're going to share a screenshot of you leaving a 5-star iTunes review. You're going to go to iTunes. You're going to leave a 5-star review, and you're going to share a picture of it. And if you have a media kit, you can also share that. But quite frankly, if you just leave this, I really enjoyed episode with Patrick Bet-David on your podcast, After Hours Entrepreneur. I specifically like the point about sharing a vision with your wife. Would you like to reach new listeners? I think I can help you achieve this. What are your steps to collaborate on episode? P.S. Just left you a 5-star iTunes review. You are above and beyond 10x better than what most people are doing when it comes to pitches. This is how you stand out. And then guess what? When they go to check out your social media page, they're going to see, oh, this person has been sharing other guest appearances. This is the type of person that I want to collaborate with. And just as a quick bonus, I know this might be a little bit controversial, but don't be afraid to send some paid traffic to your posts. LinkedIn, Instagram, like the days of being able to get that massive organic reach, people are not going to necessarily agree with this, but it is basically impossible to win. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Okay, here I am in full screen glory. It is nearly impossible to have giant posts go viral. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to make a post, you're not going to share a clip or something, and it's going to go viral. So don't be afraid to throw a little bit of cha-ching behind your post to get some engagement. Get some engagement, get it rolling, and start growing. I can tell you that once I started throwing some money behind my post to get the ball rolling, it has dramatically increased the amount of people that have asked me to be on their show, because they know if I'm a guest on their show, I'm going to share it, and then they're going to get likes. They're going to get introduced to new people. And you can say, Mark, that's fake. I don't care what you think. That's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. I'm just telling you what I know. If you throw a little bit of engagement and money behind your posts, it will go a long way with people wanting you to be on their show, because they know that you will get them access to new listeners, which by far is the thing that every podcaster wants. They want more listeners. If you disagree with me, if you think I'm a jerk, whatever, type it in the comments. For all you YouTubers, if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for listening, and I will catch you in the next episode of After Hours Entrepreneur. Now it's your turn to go and execute. Go and execute and get on your show, baby. I'll catch you next time. Peace.